Thank you so much for all joining us live in the session three. Rushda will be the moderator of this session. Rushda, the stage is yours. Please take the hood.
Hello everyone, my name is Rujda Zafar and I'll be moderating this session, Sustainability in Vertical Farming. Sustainability in vertical farming is crucial to sustain resources and communities by promoting practices and methods that are profitable and environmentally sound. So let's welcome the first speaker for this session, Arjun Van Leest. He's the Coordinator Solution Support of Jiffy Group. He'll be speaking on the topic Sustainable Solution for Vertical Farming. Arjun, the stage is yours now.
Yeah, I'm going to open my presentation. There we go. So hopefully everyone can see it, because I only see my own screen now. Thanks, Rushda, for this nice introduction, and thanks, TAB, for having me here to discuss the sustainability of the vertical farming. I would zoom in from the growing media point of view, as Jiffy is a global company specialized in growing media. My name is, as mentioned, Arjen van Leest, Coordinator Solution Support. I'm guiding the global product management team within Jiffy, as well as the segment managers. And I'm in Jiffy now for 12 years. Before that, I worked for other growing media specialists after my graduation at Wageningen University. The title of today is Sustainable Solutions for Vertical Farming. But I would like to start with the vision Jiffy has as a company based in Norway. We would like to be the innovation and service leader in sustainable plant growing solutions to feed and beautify the world. So there you go. In our vision statement, the word sustainability is mentioned as well. But what is the future for Jiffy? As a growing media specialist, of course, we would like to supply all our customers with growing media in the best way possible. And we have seen this relatively new market, vertical farming, coming up as well. So what you see here, these examples are shot in the world. You can find them anywhere, as you've heard earlier this day in other sessions. And we can be an interesting partner for you as vertical farmers. So what we did as a company, of course, we made a market survey. We call it CEA within our company, Controlled Environmental Agriculture. Of course, that covers more than solely vertical farming. But in the analysis, we figured out that around 80% of the CEA market is the one-level greenhouse operation. And about 20% these days is what we would call vertical farming, multi-level greenhouses or sheds somewhere without sunlight, so with artificial light. And that is about 2.5 times the investment per square meter. So you really have to have a proper business case to make it successful. So what we have experienced, and what a lot of the other speakers will confirm, is that the main crops in vertical farming these days are lettuce, herbs, vegetables, and the medicinal cannabis recently. Not everyone is allowed to grow it, but in ever more countries, there's openings by authorities to grow. So what we see as the main market drivers for the vertical farming is split up in some general trends. I would start with the increasing demand for healthy foods. Given by the growing wealth of the population globally, everyone has ever more interest in healthy foods. And healthy foods can only be produced in healthy circumstances, and a vertical farming could be a solution for that. Another one is the supply reliability. Everyone is aware of the COVID and the impact it had on food and food supply to the market. But on the other hand, food is crucial. So the healthy food might help you to stay away from COVID or COVID infection. So the supply reliability with vertical farmers is possible. The other one is local for local. Get away from the food miles, bringing food from South America to Asia or from Asia to South Africa. Another one, know your food. So when it's produced locally, you know what the quality specs are. You might even know the farmer. And last but not least, the fresh food, the request for fresh products. And then following the fresh food is, of course, the safe foods. Pesticide-free is a big issue. Ever less chemicals, pesticides are available to control your diseases and your pests. So people are looking for ways to grow crops in a clean way. So that leads to lesser pesticides and safe foods, of course. The retailers demand guaranteed supply. So retailers these days have no interest in seasonal products. They want to offer the strawberry, for example, on a daily basis. They want to have the lettuce and the fresh herbs on a daily basis. So that requests for a guaranteed supply. And controlled environment, and especially the vertical farms, can guarantee you that you have planned production. So you have planned harvest moments. So you have a planned guaranteed supply of the goods to the retailers. And last but not least, lesser use of inputs. So sustainability is the key topic of session 3. So lesser use of water, or not lesser use, but lesser spilling of water, I would say. The lesser use of minerals or the more efficient use of fertilizers is key. We need lesser arable lands when we go into the height. We go for vertical farm solutions. Energy can be controlled in a better way when you have lesser square meters to take care of, and the mentioned pesticides as earlier given. All these key aspects are the general trends, but what is in for the growing media industry? The main drivers for vertical farming, substrate stability is key. Vertical farmers need to guarantee the supply of the goods, so they need to guarantee the quality of the food they are producing, so they also are looking for homogeneity in their growing media. So you can grow on water solely, but that is relatively tricky. So if you use a little bit of growing media, you will always have a little buffer to avoid power pressure disturbances and things like that. So then you really rely on the quality specs of this substrate. It should be the same today as it will be tomorrow, the week after, and in a year to come. But key point here is a clean product, and not only at the delivery to mess up your farm, but also in use. A lot of the vertical farms use NFT systems or have their crops grown on these water ponds. And the last thing you would like to have is that your water gets contaminated with any product, leaf, tissue, but also growing media. So we should think about clean ways of packing the products. Warehouse availability. Most of the vertical farms try to go for efficiency, so they will use their square meters to grow crops, and usually don't really have huge storage positions to put the growing media up front or the fertilizers up front. So they really rely on delivery on demand. So that is something the industry has to take care of as well. And then some fertilizer recipes, of course. It sounds simple for us as horticulturalists to say that you have to add fertilizers to crops, but a lot of the vertical farms are set up by equity funds, people who know really well how to run a facility, how to run a business, but have lesser connections to horticulture. So we as suppliers can guide them there with all these fertilizer recipes needed to grow the best crops. And last but not least, in terms of the sustainability topic, the disposability. So the aim of the growing media industry is to create products you can either reuse or you can easily dispose after use. And with dispose, we don't mean that you throw them in landfill, but that you can give them an afterlife as a soil improver when it's an organic product, or you can even use it in other crops than in your lettuce or herb vertical farm. What about the growing medias in use? When we look at the globe, and this survey was done with 60% of the respondents from indoor farms, leading to 28% of the growing media in use was cocoa coir. 18% is rock wool or stone wool, as rock wool is a brand name. 13% is foam, oasis. 11% is peat, and then the rest is a lot of other materials. Why I have made the circle red here with cocoa coir with the foam in dots and the peat is because that's products Jiffy can supply you with, and stone wool is supplied by other people in the market. But there you can see that the products we offer as Jiffy are already covering more than 50% of the needs in the market. So you can have a one-stop shop when you go to visit us. So what are our sustainable solutions? Just short, the overview before I zoom in into the products. The first on the left-hand corner is the Jiffy Pot. That is where it all started with. But that usually comes with a substrate, so the pot is empty, you have to fill it. And the other ones are ready to be used. So the pellets, Performer, Grow Block, and the earlier mentioned Grow Foam. So what is the Jiffy Pot? The Jiffy Pot is the home compostable classic, as we call it. This is the origin of my company. Created in the 50s, people were still using potting soil to make press pots or to put them together. There were no plastic pots, so the Jiffy Pot was in fact the first container after the clay pots and the systems you use to show your plants on the balconies. But these were really produced to grow plants, to propagate plants. The pots were originally made of peat, and these days we also make them from coir. They are versatile, so we have a bunch of types available. You, in fact, save on labor. You have to fill them with substrate. That is the extra labor you have. But the advantage then is that as soon as the plant starts to grow, you don't have to replant them. As you can see in the pictures, the roots will go through the pot easily because the pot is made of this organic material and it keeps the growing media inside, but the roots will go outside. Here the pot is shown in some operations. The reason why I show you this is to mention that the pot is filled with the loose fill material, with the growing media. And usually you can say, hey, that will contaminate my system. But the good thing of these pots is they are not straight down. So they will, with their rims, they will hang in these gutters. So the gutter has a hole where the pot perfectly fits in. The growing media and the young plant are staying upstairs, above the gutter, above the lid, and the roots will grow into the water. And there's no contact, no direct contact between the water and the growing media. So in that aspect, it's a clean system. And people always ask, but will the roots penetrate? And here you can see that that is not a problem. So roots will grow into the water, will find their way to the minerals and the water, and leading to healthy lettuce heads. Number 2 in the line is what we would call the container plus growing media in one. This is another product in use in vertical farms in ever more numbers. The reason is that it comes in as a compressed plate to save volume in transport. You add water and then it starts to expand, gives you the end volume you need. This product contains a netting. With the netting, the material stays inside. The bottom of the plug is closed. In the top, there's a little hole for the seed or the cutting. The netting is made of PLA, which is polylactic acid. It's made of cornstarch, and that is biodegradable. So it's a sustainable solution. After you have been using it, you can throw it away as green waste, and the netting will fully disintegrate together with the growing media. An advantage of this system is that you can use it in automation. So with robotic arms or with seeding lines, the plugs will, after expansion, can be seeded. But as the plants have developed, the good thing is that these fingers of the robot, they simply pick the plugs without disturbing the young plant. You can move it into the next stage or you can position it in the gutter. Number 3 we will discuss is the Jiffy Performer. This is slightly different from the Jiffy pellet. The essence of the plug is similar to the Jiffy pellet, but this plug is ready to be used. So you don't need to expand it. It comes in as a finished product, and the growing media is kept together with a binder. The same idea here is that machinery can pick the plugs easily, transplant them into the next stage, and the mix of the can be filled in any tray. We will do that for you in our facilities. Number 4 is good to mention, similar to the Jiffy pellet, which was made of coir, but this one is a square block. The advantage of a block over a round plug is that when you want to position the blocks on a gutter or in a system, they will never tumble. They will stay fixed. And when you use round plugs, we advise to have a lid which keeps the plug in the position, or you have a little cup where you position the plugs in. But with these blocks, you can even put them in your NFT film at the bottom of your gutter, and the blocks will not tumble. It's the same PLA netting, by the way. And last but not least, to finish off my presentation, is grow foam. I mentioned grow foam with the dots in the overview. The reason why I did it is because grow foam is not a product we produce as Jiffy, but we have a strategic partnership together with the grow foam company based in the Netherlands to offer you grow foam plugs in Asia, in the Middle East, and in Africa. Grow foam is not an organic product like peat or coir, but is a bio-based foam which fully disintegrates in the industrial compostable units with the EN 13432 certificate on it, as you can see here in the bottom. But why did we add this product to our portfolio? It's for the simple reason that the product is clean, doesn't come in with any microplastics because it's fully disintegrated in the industrial composting industry. It's free of microbes, so we would say it's ideal for hydroponics and aeroponics systems. So that was in short my overview. Feel free to get in touch with us as we have a booth here in the virtual exhibition as well. And thanks so far for your attention.
Thank you so much for such an insightful presentation, Arjun. I'm sure the audience must have learned a lot from your presentation. If the audience have any question from Arjun, they can write in the Q&A tab. Also, Jiffy is our gold sponsor. If anyone from the audience wants to network with Jiffy Group, they can visit their booth. Now let's welcome the second speaker lined up for today, Dr. Hisham Fatnasi. He is the Senior Horticulturist Scientist at International Center for Biosaline Agriculture, ICBA. He is speaking on ICBA's current and future work on vertical farming. Dr. Hisham, the stage is yours now.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashda. I will share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes, it's visible. You can do the slideshow.
It's okay. It's okay now. It's a full screen.
Perfect.
Okay. So thank you very much for inviting us for this session. So my name is Hisham Fatnasi. I work for International Center for Biosaline Agriculture as a senior horticulturist scientist, and today I will talk to you about our ongoing and future research work. And before getting started, I will just to present you briefly our center. So ICBA is an international non-for-profit applied agriculture research based in UAE and in Dubai. So we work on topics related to the improvement of food security and nutrition, enhancing water security and environmental sustainability in marginal environments. So by marginal environments, I mean areas of the world which face the problems of salinity and water scarcity and drought. As you know, the UAE and the GCC countries in general are located in an arid zone characterized by its very dry climate, and according to the aridity index, the area is classified as hyper-arid zone characterized by excessive heat and insufficient rainfall. So it is also known by an extreme evapotranspiration and lack of water. Added to that, the extent of desert lands. So all this makes open field agriculture very difficult or impossible. And according to the United Nations World Water Development Report of 2019, so Middle East region has been recognized as the most water-stressed region in the world, with total renewable water resource stand at only around 700 cubic meter per person per year. So this water scarcity will continue to increase due to population growth and climate change. So vertical farming is offered as an adaptation approach to address these issues and help to achieve food and nutrition security goals in arid regions. Vertical farming can make a significant contribution to strengthening food security in hot to dry region, like the case here in the UAE. So this is by increasing the availability of year-round and the high quality of fresh vegetables and fruits. So this would address growing concerns over the safety, security, and vegetable availability and the demand of greater local self-sufficiency. Vertical farming would also decrease water use in horticulture production. And as you know, there is great demand in the UAE and the GCC countries for water-saving methods for growing crops because of the scarcity of this precious freshwater resource. Now, if you compare the productivity and resource requirement between vertical farming, for example, and the commercial greenhouses, here in the UAE, we found that in terms of yield, vertical farming is high and uniform year around production, and also conventional greenhouse. So typical greenhouse used in UAE consume a lot of water. It consumes around up to 80% of the total water used in the production period to maintain the required temperature range for most crop production, because we use a pad and fan cooling system to decrease the temperature inside the greenhouses. At ICBA, we developed a research program related to vertical farming with the purpose of exploiting the potential of this facility and also to explore further opportunities. So our facilities here at ICBA consist of shipping containers with full climate control, irrigation and fertilization system, some plant processing units, and also the growing units. So the research topics are intended to demonstrate the technical and commercial viability of vertical farming under arid climate, this through the quantification of productivity and resource use, efficiency of variety of crops. So we look also to optimize lighting strategies which increase yield while reducing electricity requirement. So this facility is used as a training hub as well. And recently we are working on the integration, for example, of the solar energy resource to produce electricity and fresh water and with vertical farming system in our region. Using a vertical farming to produce crops can contribute positively to most sustainable development goals in terms of land of harvest, land use, water use, and nutrient emission to water system, and also in terms of recycling water. So this research program related to vertical farming will use two different crop production techniques. So the first one is the hydroponic system or hydroponic soil culture that use renewable nutritive solution and inert substrate, and where roots directly capture the nutrient necessary for the growth from water enriched by nutritive solution. For the second system, which will be used, is the aeroponic system. So this technique is based on the use of soilless process of growing plants in air or mist environments. So in this case, the roots have 100% of water and air availability. So this system has the advantage of being 30% more efficient than the hydroponic in terms of water use. So, and also it is largely more efficient than the traditional farming, either in greenhouses or in open fields. Now, for the ongoing research project on vertical farming in our institute, or our center here at ICBA, so we work on the first project is on sustainable vertical hydroponic container farming. So we look for agro-food self-sufficiency in our climate region. This project is carried out with our colleagues from Korea, from Agrotech, from Korea. So we look together to improve the efficiency and production of vertical farming system under harsh climate and arid climate. We try to remodel vertical farm container farm to optimize water and energy use. So we carried also cultivation demonstration and the performance analysis of remodeling these vertical farming containers in comparison with the other type of controlled environment agriculture facility used here in GCC countries. We work also on the profitability evaluation of different high value crops suitable for vertical farming, as well as evaluation of the use of vertical farming as a nursery platform. Now for the selected crop that will be tested under this production system, we will try to evaluate the production and quality of different leafy greens and herbs in order to optimize their research requirement. And also we will try to test some high value crops such as strawberries. So this vertical farming facility will also be used to test the economic viability of growing non-food crops for use for pharmaceutical and cosmetic industry, such as ginseng. So with our Korean colleagues, we start to grow ginseng in the vertical farming facility. So this plant, which has several medicinal virtues. So the goal is to increase the productivity and optimize the growing time of this plant. The objective also is to optimize resource use to produce such crop in vertical farming. The second project is called Cybernetic Autonomous Vertical Farming Model for Desert Climate. So this bilateral technological cooperation project is conducted with the Cyber Farm company from Spain. So the project has the objective to produce with less water, without soil, and independently of the external climate. Now, for the vertical farming in desert area, we know that it need more research. Needs more research and development to make this system more sustainable and efficient. So among this topic of research that to be conducted is the research to look at new lighting system by exploiting the best spectrum and the optimization of lighting strategies to reduce the electricity consumption of this kind of facility. It is also needed to integrate, for example, renewable energy and the use of alternative water, such as saline water or tasty water, treated sewage effluent water, to reduce the consumption of the fresh water in our region. Now, to sum up, we are sure that vertical farming will ensure a sustainable production of high-quality products with the most efficient use of our research in arid regions. It can make possible off-season cultivation of crops around the year, and also this crop cultivation is possible under harsh environment condition. We can produce also more with the per unit area in comparison to greenhouses and open field cultivation. But there is a long way to go to achieve this sustainable vertical farming adapted to our region. Hence, the need for more research and development to reduce the production costs of this kind of crop production system. So thank you very much for attending our session. So this is my contact. Please don't hesitate to contact me to build collaboration on this topic. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hisham, for such a wonderful presentation. I must say, Iqbal is doing great work in the field of vertical farming. Now we have the third speaker for this session, Farmer Samson Ogbole. He is the team lead of Soilless Farm Labs in Africa. Let's see what Mr. Samson has to say on can vertical farming solve the food security challenges. Mr. Samson, the stage is yours now.
Everyone. Just a minute. I want to just get into the part of the farm I'll be using for my crop. Vertical farming solves the issue of food insecurity. Vertical farming solves the issue of food insecurity. So first, I want to start by defining what is meant by vertical farming. What is meant by vertical farming? So vertical farming is simply things I know here and course has done enough in that already. So vertical farming.
Samson, I'll just interrupt you for a while. I would request you to be at a single place because there is a lot of disturbance in the background. So if you can be at
yes, I'm going to be in one spot. Yes, I just wanted to set up on the farm.
Okay.
Just wanted to set up at a spot where I would take my class or my talk rather.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know if this is fine.
Yeah, better.
On the farm. So I'll be discussing vertical farming, if vertical farming can help in global food security. So first, like I said, we will start by defining what vertical farming is. So vertical farming is simply growing in stacked layers, in multiple layers. A long time trying to explain this, which he did excellent. What is food security? What is food security? Now, if we look at the UN definition for food security, they defined it as food being available for all people at all times, regardless of their physical, social, and economic power, to ensure that they have sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. So I will take out some of the keywords in that definition. First is the word all people, all people. So in looking at food security, it's important that everybody, so it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is, what your religious background is, it doesn't matter whether your tribe is a major or a minor tribe in your society, it doesn't matter whether the case in which you were born into at all times. And the next key terms that were used are physical, social, and economic. So it doesn't matter your physical location, it doesn't matter your economic power, it does not matter your social status in the society. You should have access to sufficient, safe, nutritious food at all times. So to make it simpler, I brought out 5 key terms. Number 1, availability of food all year round. So we are going to look at vertical farming vis-a-vis 5 key terms when it comes to food security. Number 1 is availability, accessibility, affordability, consistency in production, and nutritious. So for the first term, availability. So you agree with me that with vertical farming, we are able to ensure that food supply is available all year round. So you realize that normally in some areas, because of the seasonality in food production, there are times where some foods are available and there are times when these foods are not, either because in places like Europe it is winter or summer, or in places like Nigeria it is a raining or dry season. So the times determines what is available. Two is accessibility. So one of the major victims of civilization today is agriculture, because every time agriculture comes into a place, every time civilization comes into a place, many a time agriculture is sacrificed, because the assumption or even the reality is farms do not naturally align with the beauty of cities. And what this simply means is the farms are usually far away from the urban centers. And what this has ensured is food is not readily accessible to the consumers or to those who need it. But you realize that with most vertical farms, we are able to bring farms from the rural areas to the urban and peri-urban areas, such that access to food is faster. Now, it's important I also make this clarification that when it comes to vertical farming is not just about hydroponics. Vertical farming is just about planting on multiple layers, or like Ian also talked about, raising animals on multiple layers. So vertical farming is not limited to just hydroponics. Rather, vertical farming is all encompassing. So I could use soil, I could decide to go soilless. Though we have most of the farms that are into vertical farming going for hydroponics. So that is why it looks as though that every time vertical farming is mentioned, it is synonymous with hydroponics, but it does not have to be hydroponics. For example, in Nigeria, we have people who raise birds on multiple layers. They are also doing vertical farming. There is a company in Nigeria called Advic. They raise snails in multiple layers. They are also doing vertical farming. So another misconception that again I've noticed is a lot of people assume that once it is a vertical farm, it has to be in a climate controlled environment. That is not always true. But again, it's also important I balance it by saying most farms that are into vertical farming also incorporate climate controlled environment. So accessibility to food is also key, which vertical farming meets. Number three is affordability. Now, on the area of affordability, it now depends on where you are. So, for example, I know for farms like aero farms and their like, they will have a high cost when it comes to energy consumption because of their indoor farming, their LED lighting, and all of that. So, for me, I believe that there is a need for us to start trying to see how we can adapt these farms to our environment. That way, we are able to take advantage of nature while producing vertically. Take, for instance, where I am right now is just a screen house. We do not have any climate control thing installed. It's just a UV nylon at the top, and we have anti-aphid net by the side. So we are taking advantage of the natural characteristics of the environment. We have enough sun. We are able to limit the water that comes in, and so on and so forth. And with that, we are able to produce at a rate that is even cheaper than the traditional method of farming through soil. So our produce here are able to compete with even soil-based produce. So it becomes affordable. But when the technology that is employed most of the time becomes too expensive, you realize that these produce are not able to compete favorably with their counterparts from the soil. Number four is consistency in food supply. Consistency. Now, consistency is again another characteristics when it comes to food security definition. Now, with vertical farming and proper planning, we would be able to ensure all year-round production, so that there is consistently food available for those who need it. And finally, nutritious. The food has to be healthy. So it is not enough to use technology to produce food and at the end, it is not healthy. Luckily, hydroponics-based vertical farming ensures that foods are healthy. I know as a biochemist, we've done phytochemical and antioxidant analysis on plants grown with hydroponics, and we realized that most of the time, depending on most varieties that we tested, that they actually have higher level of antioxidants and phytochemicals compared to their traditional counterparts. Now, having said all of this, the question still remains, can vertical farming alone solve food insecurity? The honest answer is no, because we need to understand that, number one, not every crop can be grown vertically. Not every crop can be grown vertically. We have, for example, our tree crops. We have some of our traditional crops in Africa or in Nigeria, like yam, like cassava. These are crops that are really heavy, that putting them on a vertical system would not make economic sense, because there is a role of economic viability. But it is also important that I state that though not every crop, although vertical farming alone will not ensure global food security, but vertical farming will play a key role in the race to ensure food security. Now, in playing this key role, number one is you realize that we are able to close the gap between farms and cities. We are able to close gaps between farms and cities. That's number one. Two, with vertical farming, we are able to produce more vegetables, more herbs, more spices within a square meter by taking advantage of the vertical height. If you look at where I am right now, to my right, I have basil. Sorry. To my right, I have basil growing, and we have a system of 8 layers. So I am able to grow what should have taken about 8 of those places. So here I have 8 layers, 4 in the pot. So I have about 32 plants growing here, and we keep harvesting all year round. Now, if I were to put this on a plain horizontal ground, I would not be able to do so much like I am doing right now. So with vertical farming, we can actually get the advantage of the vertical space and growing more per square meter. Then number 3, vertical farming allows the push for precision farming. Vertical farming allows the push for precision farming. So like I said earlier, vertical farming is going to play a huge role along with other methods as we try to ensure global food security. Now, looking ahead to try to ensure that the role of vertical farming is more, that we are able to achieve more through vertical farming, there are a few things that I believe is going to push this drive. Number one is the population growth. Like the second speaker said in session 1, with our population pushing from about 7.5 billion to about 10 billion by the year 2050, it means that we are going to have more mouths to feed. And unfortunately, the amount of land available for cultivation is not going to suddenly increase. So we will need to now have to start looking at what much more efficient methods can we utilize in trying to push for food security. This would push for more of vertical farming. 2 is climate change would also push us towards vertical farming, because with our climate changing, the glaciers are melting, the rivers are overrunning their bank. In the northern part, we have desertification and all of that. The weathers are changing, pathogens are changing and all. It simply means that we would need to find a much more resilient method. Like we always say, food production cannot be seasonal because hunger is not. So it means that we would need methods that would help ensure food production all year round as climate change increases. Number 3 is, as we push towards civilization, as every urban area tries to get civilized, it simply means that we will need to start looking for better methods to ensure we can produce food within the city. And trying to produce food within the city would push also for vertical farming. I know, for example, in places like Netherlands, there are people today, like I think agriculture, they spoke earlier. Today, they are building structures. They are having buildings that are designed from scratch to ensure that it is able to accommodate plants on their walls. So these are some of the things that would drive vertical farming. And of course, to try to ensure that the adoption of vertical farming is fast, we need to start looking at how to make the technology cheaper. That's number one. And two, how to ensure that the technologies that we are bringing on board can be domesticated. So I do not have to try to import everything I need from China or from the UK into Nigeria before I can produce. But if we are able to domesticate this knowledge, if this knowledge can be translated into local languages, if people are able to understand how to use their local assets to achieve same purpose, this will go a long way to ensure adoption of vertical farming. So some of the things that I've talked about that, and we also need to start looking at how to push it to urban areas. Of course, there will be push for indoor farming with vertical farming, and of course, more of precision-based farming, because every input matters. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the platform. I appreciate.
Thank you so much, Mr. Farmer, for such an informative presentation. If the audience have any question from Mr. Farmer Sampson, they can always type in the Q&A tab. Unfortunately,
Yes.
we have received the message from Lisa Gender that she won't be able to attend the session because she is not well. Now we have the last speaker for this session, Josephine Fabre. She is the president of African Association of Vertical Farming. She'll be speaking on AAVF's contribution into vertical farming industry and the African continent. Let's play the presentation.
For having us here. Good day, ladies and gentlemen, fellow panelists. My name is Josephine Fabre, president of the African Association for Vertical Farming. I am originally Tanzanian, raised in Switzerland, and still living in Switzerland. Hello here from remote Tanzania, where we are giving trainings to communities on sustainable food systems and solutions towards a food secure environment. The African Association for Vertical Farmers' vision is to improve food security and provide a platform for economic empowerment, especially for youth and women of Africa. The AAVF uses innovative food production practices to elevate Africa's growing population, urbanization, and climate change challenges. The AAVF mobilizes a network of individuals, organizations, and research institutions in Africa's urban agriculture sector. Within 3 years, the AAVF has become the leading and reference association when searching for smart agriculture solutions. Problem statement. African population is 1.2 billion and growing. It will double in the next 30 years. 45% of the population resides in urban areas, and 60% of these live in overcrowded and underserviced areas. Africa's climate is warming 1.5 times faster than other countries. Over 30% of the 420 million youth in Africa are not employed, and 90% are inactive. The opportunity. Youth population. Africa has the youngest population, as said. 60% of the population is aged between 18 and 35. This is Africa's greatest asset for growth, and it is time we turn this demographic dividend into an economic core. Technologically clued and eager to learn youth are within the African group. Vertical farming has a chance to be taught and practiced in the continent and offer a range of solutions, including food security, innovations around solar, grow light, sensor development and monitoring, outdoor environmental controls, use of drones, and much more. Kenya has articulated wishing to use available material to set up cost-friendly vertical farms for the future. The solution: increase food production by using modern farming technologies, i.e. vertical farming. AAVF, in collaboration with partners, will ensure that food production is increased across the continent. In the next 3 years, AAVF will focus on training the youth of Africa on vertical farming technology to reach this objective. To shorten the distance farm to fork, as the number of smallholder farmers increase through training and application, we will still see the ease and access to food within the communities. This will not only reduce the carbon emission due to moving food produced long distance to final users, but also will ensure that food is affordable and accessible to many. COVID-19 has reinforced the importance of the concept farm to fork. This can reduce infections and significantly, as there will be less movement and exchange of produce. Easy access to nutritious food will also address the stunted growth and malnutrition challenges that affect many children in the African continent. The AAVF 3-year plan or project plan. Our goal and objectives are to identify the youth in Africa that are interested in learning and practicing vertical farming and agri-business techniques. Introduce skill retooling evaluation tests for the youth to place them where they are most efficient in agriculture. Train various technologies around vertical farming. Train soft business skills in readiness to start own agribusinesses. Build demo vertical farming for trainings in Kenya and Tanzania, and later on other countries around Africa. Other train or trainer programs, TOT, would like to be implemented for the youth. Build strong stakeholder relationships. Through partnerships with stakeholders, we will identify and offer job placements, internship, and farm startup support. We will offer hand-holding services for new young farmers on modern technologies, thus vertical farming. This is our contribution to vertical farming around Africa or across Africa. Thank you very much, and we apologize for this mishappening on internet in Tanzania at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Josephine, for such a precise and wonderful presentation. Thank you to all the speakers for your contribution in Global Vertical Farming Expo 2021. I'm sure the audience must have learned a lot from your presentations. Now we have a session 4, that is industrialization in vertical farming. I request everyone to join this session, which starts shortly. I would like to mention that Jiffy Group is our gold sponsor. If anyone from the audience would like to network with Jiffy Group, they can visit their booth. Thank you so much.